This is Cappadocia, and would you just look at how beautiful this place is. The rock formations mesmerize, while the ancient dwellings capture your imagination. In this video, I explore Cappadocia's ancient past and its natural beauty, indulge in some Turkish cuisine, and enjoy the adventure activities that make this such an extraordinary destination. There are two main towns here in Cappadocia, Goreme and Uchisar. To start out, I'm going to be spending a few days here in Goreme. The first thing I did was to climb the hill so I could get a view of the town. Set among the fairy chimney rock formations, I was not expecting to find these geological wonders scattered all throughout the town. Goreme is a magical looking place. I'm excited to get exploring Cappadocia, and I'm really excited for the hot air balloon ride that I have booked. I really hope that the weather holds out because it's pretty windy right now. This is a really beautiful scenic sunset spot overlooking the town of Goreme. And I have to say, it's a little prehistoric looking. It feels a little bit like the Flintstones. It's really yabba dabba do time. This morning I'm headed to the Goreme Open Air Museum. They open at 8 a.m. and it's already getting warm by then, so I'm heading out a little early. There are several open air museums you can visit, and this one is an easy walk from town. The Goreme Open Air Museum is a UNESCO World Heritage Site. It contains 11 of the finest rock-cut churches from the 10th, 11th, and 12th century that amazingly still contain the frescoes painted on their walls and ceilings. So it was 20 euros to get in the Goreme Open Air Museum. And then there are a few places that only allow a few visitors a day and some that are an extra charge. And the Dark Church was an extra 6 euros. And of course you can't take photos inside of these churches. And I debated about going in, but I paid the extra 6 euros and went in, and I am so glad I did. Oh, it was beautiful. The frescoes on the walls and the ceiling were fantastic. The artwork, the colors are so vibrant. Definitely worth a little bit of extra money. I find it very interesting. The 9th century churches, the artwork looks a little primitive, and they only had one color, red. From the 12th century, they had many different colors, and the artwork was definitely several notches up. So I got to the Open Air Museum right when they opened at 8 a.m. and I pretty much had the run of the place to myself, which was great. On the walk over to the museum, I saw some really interesting looking rock formations, so now I'm going to go see if I can't hike back to those. Well, I found the trail back to those amazing rock formations that I had seen earlier from the road. There are many different names for these rock formations, and I prefer to use what the locals call them, the fairy chimneys. So while I was out exploring the rock formations, I came across this really cool little restaurant tucked back in here in this valley, and so I'm finally going to go for it. I'm going to try the full Turkish breakfast. So they've brought out part of the breakfast. I've got fresh veggies, tomatoes, cucumbers, different jams, strawberry, fig with walnut, a variety of olives, clotted cream with honey, fresh baked bread. They really know how to do bread here in Turkey. It comes in so many different varieties. It's always fresh and soft, crusty on the outside, soft on the inside. Okay, so now they brought out the hot dishes. Eggs with sausage, minimum, some fruits, banana pancakes. Look at this. This is a little silly, but I'm going for it. all the veggies are wonderful. Turkey has some of the best tomatoes I've ever eaten in my life. They bring you a plate of them. They're nice and cold. It's one of the best things ever. So juicy and ripe. Look at the size of this pepper. Came on the plate of fresh veggies. Delicious. I'm not sure what's going on here. It's like in a backwards world. There's all this honey and jams on the table and fresh fruits, and this bee comes along. He ignores those, lands on the sausage, digs himself a piece of fat out of the sausage and flies off with it. Never seen that before. I don't know what these are called, but they're delicious. There's cheese inside of these. Also got a cheese plate surrounded by dried Turkish apricots, raisins, and walnuts. I cannot believe this spread. It's the best brunch ever. And it's a little under $20 a person. And it's bottomless. Can you believe that? They just brought me out another dish of eggs and sausage, another pot of Turkish tea. So if you're ever in Cappadocia or Goreme, you need to come to this restaurant and check it out. Not only is the food wonderful, the setting back here among the fairy chimneys is beautiful. I'll put a link down below so you can check it out. The pre-dawn hours around Cappadocia bustle with activity as hot air balloon crews are busy preparing for their daily flights. I arrived to the launch site just as the final preparations were being made, and within 5 minutes, my balloon was taking off under the dim light. We quickly gained elevation, and I could see that we were one of the first to take off, as balloons below were flickering with lights across the desert floor. On any given day, up to 165 hot air balloons take off, carrying around 2,000 people. During the course of the flight season, Cappadocia can see up to 500,000 passengers. We passed over chasms eroded by wind, water, and time as the sun announced its presence by casting amber rays across the landscape. We flew to 850 meters, or 2,800 feet. The air was very calm, and the tranquility was only broken by the sound of the burners that were lifting us up, up, and away. Before I knew it, we were on our descent, and the support vehicle was racing towards us. We made a soft landing directly onto the trailer, and only after getting out of the basket was I able to see just how big it was. I was sad that it seemed to end so soon, but I was excited that I still had a lot to see and do here in Cappadocia. After a long day of travel yesterday, I had to get up at 3 a.m. this morning. So I was really hoping this balloon ride was going to live up to all the hype. And let me tell you, it did. This was fantastic. So I decided to do an ATV tour, a sunset tour. We got several stops to make. We're at a viewpoint right now, and I cannot believe the number of people on this ATV tour. The ATV tour was a lot of fun and a really good value at only 25 euros a person. We rode around for a couple of hours, and I ate plenty of dust along the way before we made the final stop to watch the sunset. It was really crowded at the sunset spot, but the light shining on the surrounding hills and rocks was just magical. I spent the first 4 nights in Goreme, and now I'm going to spend the next 4 nights here in Uchisar. I took a taxi over here yesterday, and actually it was a lot closer than I thought it was. It was only about an 8-minute ride over here. But the small village of Uchisar has been occupied here since the 6th century. And just like in Goreme, many of the small cave homes here have been converted to boutique hotels and restaurants. The small village actually huddles around a 60-meter tall rock formation known as Uchisar Kalesi, or Uchisar Castle. Uchisar Kalesi, or castle, has been inhabited since the 7th century, and it really does tower over the village here. I could see it clearly from my hotel room over in Goreme. This castle is so amazing, and you can wander around at your leisure. And one of the prime lookout spots for sunset is at the very top of the castle. The afternoon I climbed to the top of the Kalesi, it was very windy. The views of Uchisar were great, but I didn't spend much time on top because of the wind. Luckily, there is plenty to explore in the lower sections of the castle. Uchisar Castle is crisscrossed by many passageways and rooms, many of them underground. This served as residential housing back in Byzantine times. Although no longer inhabited today, the castle once housed over 1,000 people. So this was obviously a kitchen. There's a fire pit down here and a chimney going up through a hole in the roof right here. And wow, a kitchen with an unbeatable view. I find it fascinating to think about the thousands of people that lived in these cave homes over the centuries. And while they did offer great shelter, I'm sure it was far from luxurious. So one of the cool things about Cappadocia is it is covered with ancient sites, and not all of them are tourist attractions. You're welcome to wander around these little valleys and hills and investigate these cave houses and ancient sites on your own. And there is an ancient church here called St. Basil's. It's the only one in Uchisar, and I believe this is it right over here. I'm just trying to find a way to get inside. It's really steep, but I've seen pictures of what's inside, and I'm really determined to get in there. As it turned out, I had to leave the valley and make my way down to the church from the hill above. I then followed a narrow ridge and eventually came to a small opening that led me inside. I made it, and it was a little difficult getting up in here, but it was built that way on purpose because this church was carved out of the rock up here back when Christians were persecuted and Christianity was illegal. But man, was it worth the climb. The columns in this church are huge, and I don't know if they know exactly who carved this church out up here back in the 500s, but the designs of the pillars in here are Syrian in design. So when the Ottomans came through and ran the Christians off, I guess, this was no longer used as a church, and they came in and carved these pigeon nooks. And like many of the caves around here, they were used for pigeon houses because they collected pigeon guano to fertilize their crops with. The people in this area collected pigeon guano from these caves until 1970. Pigeon Valley runs between Uchisar and Goreme. It's about a 2-hour hike. And here there are many cave dwellings, old cave houses, and it was also a major place for pigeon houses, for pigeons to roost in and where they would collect guano to fertilize the crops with. So this morning on my way over to the trailhead, I picked up a buddy who's accompanying me on my hike. She's very pretty. She's Anatolian Shepherd. There are a lot of Anatolian Shepherds here, and the males are quite large. They're like Mastiff size. She's pretty big, but she's not as big as the males, but she sure is sweet. I enjoyed having the dog follow along on my hike. So this trail going through Pigeon Valley follows a stream, and there's big trees and shrubs and wildflowers growing everywhere, and it makes sense that this is where they would carve the pigeon houses. That way they could collect the guano and take it straight to the crops that they were growing right here next to their water source. The trail through Pigeon Valley is well marked, easy to follow, and there is lots to see along the way. I passed by several really nice cave houses and several orchards. The whole Cappadocia Valley feels like a giant orchard. When I think it is, I've seen Persian walnuts, apples, cherries, pears, peaches, nectarines, but my favorite are the Turkish apricots. I've even seen people drying hundreds of these on top of their walls that go around their yards. And these are so amazing. I've always loved the dried Turkish apricots that I could get back in the States, but you cannot beat a fresh one. Sweet and juicy. The valley has plenty of shade to escape the heat, but make sure you bring some water. I wasn't sure what to expect from Uchisar after coming from Goreme. Goreme is quite a bit bigger. Uchisar is a small rural agricultural village, and I absolutely love it. So tranquil and laid back. So if you come to Cappadocia, staying in Uchisar is definitely worth a couple of nights. There's plenty to do. And if you haven't already checked out our Istanbul videos, please check those out. And next, I'm headed to the coast. So please hit that like button and subscribe, because there is so much more to come.